Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Destin Talks to Random People. Today I'm talking to Parris Lilly. Parris, it's been a long time. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, you're right. It has been a long time. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing very, very well. Just watched my son play some basketball. But before that, we had a pretty good Xbox Developer Direct. Overall, what's your takeaway from it? Did you love it? Was it okay? Was it amazing?
I mean, I loved it because I like the Dev Direct presentation, the way that they do it, and you get to hear directly, from the people that are making these games. And I thought all 5 games showed pretty well, in my opinion. A few of them are definitely must plays for me, but I just think even when you compare it to last year's Dev Direct, you can tell that they took some lessons learned from that. They trimmed the fat a little bit, and it felt very tight and concise. Like it held my attention the entire time from start to finish. So it was really good.
Yeah, I think it was pretty solid. I'm not going to say it's the best showcase I've ever seen because of personal pacing, but that's just because not everything resonated with me. But in terms of what they showed and hitting all of the categories for gamers, I think they did an excellent job in that respect. Yeah. Really, really well put together show. Before we go any further, if people don't know who you are, why don't you tell people a little bit about your background in the industry and who you collaborate with usually? Just why don't you tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Parris Lilly, and from a gaming standpoint, I have been doing this since 2006, a really long time. I first got into this through Danny Pena, that's Godfrey over at Gamertag Radio, because I was inspired by him podcasting back in those days. I used to listen to him and watch him. And like I said, that was the inspiration. So at one point in 2006, I actually saw him up at Xbox at an event. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to do this, right? So I reached out to him and he gave me some pointers. So then I started my own gaming podcast. I did that from 2006 till about 2011. And then I decided I'm going to retire. I'm good. I've done enough. I got to do some really cool things during that time. Like I interviewed Casey Hudson when Mass Effect 2 came out, Ken Levine when BioShock was coming out, as examples. So I thought I was good with it, and I stopped. Now, Danny and I had been friends this whole time. And after I stopped doing my own podcast, about a year later, he reached out to me. Actually, it was when BioShock Infinite came out. So I guess that would have been 2013. Wow. Reached out about coming on to talk about BioShock Infinite because I just was a huge fan of it. And it went so well that they were like, hey, would you want to come do this full time with us on Gamertag Radio? And at first I was like, no, I don't think I want to do it full time. And then I decided to go ahead and do it. And yeah, I've just been doing Gamertag Radio ever since. I think more recent times, ironically enough, the pandemic in 2020 kind of helped me a lot because I was actually thinking about stopping doing this around that time again. I was like, I think I'm good. Then the pandemic happened and obviously everybody was at home because part of the issue was, I live basically in San Diego. So it's like you'd have to travel out to go do events, things like that. And I didn't necessarily want to do that anymore. But because of the pandemic, I was stuck at home. And ironically enough, Ryan McCaffrey one day needed someone to come on Unlock because I think, you were out and I think Miranda was out. And I almost said no to that too. And it just so happened I had a meeting cancel. So I did it. And Ryan and I had that one-on-one conversation and it went really well. And obviously from that, I came on and started doing stuff on Unlock. I think what the Xbox Series X reveal, that reveal event they had, I was co-hosting along with all you guys for that. Greg and those guys over at Kind of Funny, they had reached out because they had started the XCast around this time. And again, I'm just watching it casually and I would comment every now and again. And Gary Whitta was out one day. So Alana reached out and wanted me to come on when she was still a co-host. So I came on, that went really well. And then next thing you know, Alana had to leave. I came on and did a couple guest spots a few more times. But then by the end of 2020, they reached out to me and was like, hey, we'd love for you to come on as full-time co-host. And I've been a part of Kind of Funny ever since beginning of 2021. And then what happened in 2021? Yeah, 2021. I got to host the Xbox Showcase Extended. I got to host their Gamescom event.
Wait, is that the one where you wore the flight jacket?
Yeah. That was the whole start of that. That started the flight sim stuff. So, and that's when I did the whole cock can't cook thing with the controller and all that. That was a lot of fun. But since then, every year I've been lucky enough I guess I'm the face of flight sim or something at this point now, because every time they do a flight sim reveal, I've been a part of that as well. And like I said, I continue to do XCast, and I've been on Unlocked a few times, since then. Actually, I was a part of IGN's Gamescom this year as well, so it's been fun. It's just been crazy.
Yeah.
That the opportunities that I've been able to get, because I just like video games. I just like talking about video games, and it's been quite the ride. It's been amazing. I feel very lucky and fortunate.
But your real claim to fame, the thing most people know you for, is your Cyberpunk chair, right?
Yeah. Oh, I should get into the other room. Yeah.
No. Like you, apparently I heard from somebody that your reaction to the BCD demo went viral. I didn't know that.
Yep.
It did?
Yeah. Okay. So backing up on that would have been 2018 E3. And it was ironic because, my day job, I work in cybersecurity. And at the time I was working in Orange County. And if you know Southern California, trying to go from Orange County to Los Angeles during rush hour is chaos. Yeah. So I knew I was going to be missing E3 just because of work and just stuff I had to do. So I made an appointment on the last appointment of the last day or something crazy like that of E3. And I was not even sure I was going to make it. And I just so happened to get there right on time. And Danny and Pete, knew I was super excited about Cyberpunk and everything. So I got into that final appointment. They knew I was going in. But what I didn't know was while I was in that appointment, Danny was waiting for me to come out, and he filmed my reaction as I'm walking out of that behind closed door demo. And yeah, it just went viral because he put it on social media and went viral because I was comparing it to Cowboy Bebop and Ghost in the Shell and things like that. It went viral. The CD Projekt Red folks saw it. They really loved it too. And then that just kind of started the whole thing. And then the very next year when they did the second behind closed door demo at E3, I went to that. And then they had planned this whole thing. So there's a second viral video where I come out and the entire CD Projekt Red team is there and they're all clapping and applauding and the whole thing. So it was a lot of fun, man. And then that led into, again, during the pandemic, I hosted the launch event for Cyberpunk as well. And obviously I got the infamous chair and everything else that went with that. But yeah, that's what I mean. It's just these lucky accidents that are happening that, turn into something. So like I said, I'm just very lucky.
Fast forward to today. We just got out of an Xbox Direct. And I think the big thing that everyone should take away from the event is that they should hit that subscribe button, hit that bell while they're watching this video. First of all, hit that like button if they're already subscribed. Indiana Jones. The Indiana Jones trailer was incredible. I am very impressed by what I saw. I don't care what anybody says about people are already tearing it apart, every little thing. But for me, tonally, it's perfect. It's it's hitting all the right notes for me. And the way that they presented everything has me so excited to play this game. I love that it's a game that has combat and adventure alongside these interesting puzzles that'll probably have booby traps and stuff in typical Indiana Jones style. And it's a really smart first person. I don't even know if it's a shooter really, because you use a whip for most of the time. I am so excited to try it out for myself, come to my own determination. And I really like what Machine Games has done here. For me, it was the highlight of the whole presentation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I think we're in complete agreement here. I thought the presentation was incredible for it because it felt like Indiana Jones. It felt like something taken right out of one of the movies, which I really appreciated because I've been a huge fan of the original trilogy of Indiana Jones. So for them to get Harrison Ford's likeness and to just keep it the way you would think Indiana Jones would be, this globe-trotting, treasure hunting and adventure. You're punching Nazis in the face. Like you said, the puzzle elements, there's going to be a bunch of booby traps, things like that. It felt right. You have the female companion that's also, going to be going with him on these adventures. And I like that it is taking place after Raiders of the Lost Ark, but before the Last Crusade, because there's that gap in time where we don't know what Indy was doing. So now this is like technically canon to the Indiana Jones, franchise. So now we get to know what Indy was doing in between those two movies. But yeah, it looked incredible to me. I know there's been the discourse about it being first person with a mix of third person, when you're doing some of the traversal stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are like, why is it first person? Why is it first person? Because Machine Games is really good at making first person stuff. I think that's why that studio, like, you could see Machine Games fingerprints all over that game too, which was the other thing I took from it, because I'm a huge Wolfenstein fan. So I've been on board since day one when I heard that they were making it, and it looks great. And it's from a developer that knows what they're doing, making first person single player experiences. So yeah, in my personal opinion, and maybe this is coming just fresh off the reaction of it, and we're all super excited, but this is a day one must play. This is something that I think people will look at and go, you know what? I need to get an Xbox and play this. That's how good it looked to me.
I agree. And actually, I even picked this up, Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, to just see, like, would an Indiana Jones game even work? Because I read the reviews, and it reviewed like in the 8s,
right.
This old game. And you know what? It's good. It's a pretty good Indiana Jones game. And that got me a little bit more excited for this. And then seeing that it has that Machine Games flair, that style, exactly how you phrased it, right? And I absolutely agree with you. It just has their touch, their unique angle, and it really, really works in this particular instance, right? My son's really mad about something. My wife's with him right now. But there was one that was a little bit more mixed for my reaction, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about, you know where I'm going, Avowed.
I know where you're going. Yeah.
What did you think about Avowed?
See, I'm biased because I love Obsidian. I love Obsidian games. I really do. Like more recently, the Outer Worlds, being RPG coming from them, I really love that. So, and I think Fallout New Vegas is one of the best games ever made. So I have a bias coming into that. I want to be clear. But what I saw was what I want from an Obsidian RPG. There's player customization, there's weapon customization with the loadouts, there's consequences to your choices with the story beats. I mean, the open world, does have diversity as far as the biomes go. You're seeing various factions of enemies that you're going to be encountering. I understand the critique of the visuals because they do not hold up to what we originally saw back in 2020. That is completely valid to me. But I guess I don't necessarily play video games just because they're super pretty. I think Obsidian will nail the gameplay of this. But I've seen the critiques of it, and I think your mileage may vary on that because of what people were probably expecting Avowed to be versus what it's going to be. But again, this is something, it's like a day one for me. I want to play it. I'm super excited for it. But again, I like Obsidian games. I like Obsidian RPGs. So yeah, I was totally fine with it.
Yeah. I'm so on it still. I'm going to play it and come to my own determination once the game is actually out and available for itself. I'm still so on it. Like, I wish they would have gone with more of an Elder Scrolls art style, which is sort of what the original trailer seemed to tease. I really like the new marketing material. Like, they released this really great wallpaper for, I don't know, like a character that's sort of made of all the different biomes, and that just went out on Twitter, and I really like that. But I'm a little unsure of how the combat's going to feel. It looks like it's floaty. And one thing I really liked is the feeling of impact when you're in combat. And I feel like it could just use a little more, to throw some French in there, je ne sais quoi. Like a little zhuzh, I don't know what you call it, like oomph, for lack of a better term. And that's what I'm hoping to see when the full game comes out. Dialogue, though, I think that little snippet of dialogue that they teased is really, really interesting. And I'm totally going to kill that guy.
But that is one thing that, again, going back to a critique of it, I was a little thrown off by that.
Which aspect?
And the tone, the voice, the the dialect, let's put it that way, that they were using in that. Whereas, are we going to have various dialects in the game, which is totally possible? That one I'm kind of a wait and see on, but we'll see. And again, I keep saying I'm biased because I am, but I just feel like it'll be fine. I'm sure when the game comes out, this will be a non-issue, but that was one that definitely stood out to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of diversity in terms of the different character types that you can encounter. I did a video about just like the lore of the universe, and it's really, really interesting how all that stuff intermingles. And like, there's a dwarven race, there are some of the people that we saw in the asset today, but I'm definitely, that is the one I have wait and see written on it for me, but I am absolutely going to play it. Just like I'll play Suicide Squad, even though I'm very cautious about that one also, having done the preview, and that brings me to Hellblade, and Hellblade brings up sort of a can of worms. I think we're all excited about Hellblade and playing the game and everything, but Xbox buried the lead in their Xbox Wire post where they said Hellblade 2, it's going to be $49.99. So not $59.99, not $69.99, $49.99. So $20 off of a full retail release. The original Hellblade was about 8 hours of game time. They said it's similar in scope, and they're really focusing on crafting this story. But in addition to all that, it's a digital only release.
Yeah.
And that led me to ask you the question, is this Xbox saying we're going all digital? Think about it.
I don't think so.
Well, wait. I got some more stuff to back that up.
Sure. Okay. Might change my mind.
Forza Horizon 5. They released a physical media disc, but there's nothing on it. You can't play that game unless you connect to the internet and you download the code. And I think Forza Motorsport, don't quote me on that, but I believe Forza Motorsport ran into the same issue. And I think Xbox has silently already gone all digital, but still allowed people to buy discs. And they're slowly going to just eliminate that. The FTC documents even leaked that delightfully all digital is going to be a tagline or something for that new console that was leaked. So do you think they're working their way towards that?
I think, okay. So I'm actually glad you added the second part of that information. When I was saying, I don't think so, I didn't think Hellblade 2 itself was, all right, everything moving forward is going to be that. I do think in the short to midterm, we are still going to see physical disc for games. But clearly, their long-term goal is to go all digital. Of course it is. I mean, it's just where everything is headed. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised by that. I'm not, obviously, we got the Series S right now, which is a test bed for that. And we even had that in the Xbox One, where they had that all digital Xbox One as well. So yeah, they want to go all digital. Of course they do. They all do. Mm-hmm. They don't want you trading discs. They want you to, subscribe to whatever or buy their digital code or buy the license, because that's basically what it is, right? So I think eventually we will get there. I guess what I was commenting on more specifically with Hellblade 2 is I'm glad it's $50 if we're getting an 8-hour experience for it. So you don't feel like you're getting quote unquote ripped off for it. So that $49.99 for an 8-hour experience seems fair to me. If it was $70, 8 hours and all digital, I would definitely have a problem with that. My only pushback look, I get that people want physical disc. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty much transitioned all digital, so I don't fall into that camp, but I understand the importance of it for preservation, everything. But I don't think people were up in arms with Alan Wake 2 being all digital at first, and then they kind of quickly got over it when Alan Wake 2 came out, and it was awesome. So maybe that happens here again with Hellblade 2, but I understand the frustration / outrage of having an all digital, because people want their collector's items. People want to make sure they preserve it. They have the disc, even though discs these days are basically just storage devices where you are just dumping it onto the hard drive of whatever console you have anyways, and all these day one patches you have to get and all those type of things. So it's a tricky conversation, because I see the business side of it. Not that I necessarily agree with it. I see the business side. I get what they're trying to do. But as a consumer, as a gamer, I also understand people wanting their physical disc. So I see it.
I'm sort of with you. I do think that we will eventually be all digital at some point. And I do think Hellblade, I disagree with you sort of a little bit. I do think Hellblade 2 is them saying, hey, like, we kind of want to start this now. Let's see how this one goes and then go from there. Indiana Jones, I think it's a larger market, and a lot of that market would buy physical. So I would be surprised if Indiana Jones was all digital. But I think more and more as we go towards this all digital future, and there's a few things happening in the industry that I think a lot of people don't like, or it's like popular not to like, that are going to be prevalent going forward in the future. Digital is one of them. People like game preservation, which is a genuine concern. And I agree with that concern. And the problem is everybody's buying digital. It's like a ridiculous percentage versus physical, right? So analysts get these reports about physical media and they're like, this is almost useful. You know, it's really hard to glean any sort of deep analysis from where these are at currently. Now, the other one is AI, though. And I think AI is gonna take over in a big way, whether people want it to or not, right? And so far, we've seen some healthy implementation of it, but also a few concerning implementations where, you know, one of the voice lines in the new Prince of Persia game uses AI, I believe, and some people were worried about that. But all in all, those are just trends that are happening, whether we want them to or not, right? There's too much potential with AI to help you do certain things. And if they use it responsibly, I'm actually a little more optimistic than the rest of the industry seems to be about the usage of the technology. No, I'm not for voice actors having their voice like removed and just using AI. But I have to wonder if they do like 5,000 lines of dialogue or some crazy amount of dialogue and then allow their voice to be used for those auto quest generated dialogue trees that a player can go down. I think that would be an implementation where the creator and the voice being utilized is being compensated for that. And that might be an implementation that I could see the industry not being too mad about. It's really important that the voice actors and the character actors still get compensated for any sort of likeness, though. And there's going to be tons of legal. I don't mean to go on a tangent on you, Parris. I've just thought about it.
No. Yeah, I'm completely with you on this. It is such a slippery slope when it comes to AI because, excuse me, I'm getting over being sick. You're talking from the voice actor aspect, which I'm completely on board with, but I even just think from a game developer aspect, like the artists, things like that. Whereas are they going to be replaced because you can just do the art with AI, so we can reduce headcount and not have to pay all these people, you know, on the development teams? And then we're already seeing so many mass layoffs. How is that going to improve if AI is coming in and replacing what people were quote unquote manually doing or coding to automate or whatever the case may be, right? So it's a slippery slope. I'm with you in that I think AI can be a great supplement to what we already have. And like you said, kind of fill in the gaps of some of the monotonous stuff that, you know, a voice actor may not necessarily have to do, but they're still being compensated and they're still getting work. So I don't know. I don't, it's almost one of those where, you know, for the lack of a better term, the whole Skynet Terminator thing. I mean, are we going down this road where we're going to look up 10 years from now and all these games and all these forms of entertainment that we love are just AI generated versus, you know, the good old fashioned way with human intervention? So I don't know. But like you said, it's going to happen whether we like it or not. And I just hope it's done responsibly.
Yeah. I mean, it is nice to see Microsoft at least trying to be responsible as opposed to just going for it. And even Square is talking about figuring out how to implement it in a responsible way. I do appreciate that, but let's see how it goes because I'm also concerned about it. You've been sort of making the rounds online right now, and I haven't heard your actual thoughts about this.
Yeah.
what was your take on the whole Xbox going third party thing? I'll tell you mine real quick.
Okay, good.
I'm not that worried about it. The games in question are Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves has been out for a long time in internet world. And the fact that it's going to expand to another platform, the other platform being PlayStation, maybe Nintendo, I don't see that as a negative. I see that as more profit for Microsoft. And I see that bringing more people into the Xbox ecosystem, right? I don't think Indiana Jones is going to go on PlayStation. There's no indication that it's going to go on PlayStation. I don't think Hellblade 2 is going to go on PlayStation, not immediately. Sony inversely is trying to figure out how to get everything on mobile and PC. They've talked about that publicly for like the last 5 years. They've been building up the mobile branch forever. So the whole hubbub about Xbox going third party, it's like really they're letting PlayStation fans and Nintendo fans have some of their properties when it makes sense. And I think in Hi-Fi Rush's case, Hi-Fi Rush capped out at 3 million players, not purchasers, because it was available as part of Game Pass.
On Game Pass, yeah.
If they're going to also release it on Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 5 at a price point, let's say it's the same price as Hellblade 2, $49.99, I think that's a pretty big win for Microsoft. What was your take? Are we in alignment?
We're pretty aligned on this. How much time we got? Because
no, go for it.
There's some layers to this. So, I caught a lot of flack online this week because I was talking about this on Xcast, and I was just, the point I was trying to make is what you're just saying. They're going to look at select games and they're going to most likely put them on the Switch and on the PlayStation where it makes sense. And you can look even in their past. You have Ori, obviously, right? I know I said Cuphead and people are like, Cuphead's not one of them. Like, you're right. It's not. But even in the Minecraft series, they didn't have to put Legends and Dungeons on other platforms, but they did. I think we're seeing something similar now, especially when it comes to a live service game like Sea of Thieves. The more people that you get playing Sea of Thieves, the better it is for that Sea of Thieves community, right? For the monetization of it and all that. We have to remember at the end of the day, this is a business and they're about making money. So they're always going to be looking at how they can make the most money. Now, at the same time, if people have been listening to what Phil and other people have been saying over the years, they've been slowly but surely going down this path. Acquiring Bethesda and acquiring Activision has obviously accelerated this. You don't spend almost $100 billion and not be disruptive. When Phil came on Xcast last year, he admitted they lost last generation. They lost the digital ecosystem era as it was starting. It's going to be very hard for them to recapture that. So their strategy changed that let's put our games day one on PC. Let's look into mobile. Let's do cloud streaming. And where it makes sense, let's put some of our titles on competitors' platforms. Now, like you brought up the instance of Indiana Jones, and you can expand that into Avowed, a Starfield, a Hellblade, on down the line. They're big trip Gears, the next Gears that comes out, things like this. Those games aren't going to be on PlayStation or Nintendo because those are the games that are going to get people to invest into your ecosystem. I think the biggest thing that I've seen from the community is they want their console to still have value. They feel like if the wild assumptions, the doomsday scenarios, everything just goes day and date to PlayStation and Nintendo, then what's the point of Xbox? That I agree. What's the point of an Xbox? Is you just stop making an Xbox and go third party. But that's not what they're doing. We already know they're making another Xbox. So it's not like they're getting out of the hardware business. They're going to continue to give you an Xbox. They're going to continue to give you all the services that come with that ecosystem, along with AAA exclusives that you aren't going to be able to play on PlayStation or Nintendo. That's the whole point here. That sure, they have 30 plus studios now. When you add in Activision Blizzard, there's going to be some one-offs there, especially on the multiplayer side, where let's get that on as many panes of glass as we possibly can. And that's going to mean sometimes putting on a competitor's platform as well. But the point that I was making when I was talking about it before, what changes for you as someone who's invested in the Xbox ecosystem? Nothing, because you're still getting all these games. You still get to play it on your preferred platform. Just because someone gets a Hi-Fi Rush, let's just say 18 months after it came out on your platform, that didn't change your enjoyment of Hi-Fi Rush. You still got to enjoy Hi-Fi Rush. You still got to play it. I understand people. Look, I understand that people, they have an emotional investment into this stuff, right? It's fans. Fans stands for fanatical. People get very passionate about this stuff. I understand that, and I get it. But I think there's a lot of overreaction right now. I don't think it is as bad as people are making it out to be, because they are not taking these games and making them day and date on these other platforms, unless it's something like a Minecraft where it already was there. Clearly, we know Call of Duty is going to stay there because they signed contracts for that. But there's going to be games that come from Activision and Blizzard that are going to be exclusive to the Xbox platform. Same, obviously, with Bethesda and like Elder Scrolls 6. That's going to be part of Xbox. I mean, it just is. We're obviously seeing this right now with Indiana Jones. I mean, if Xbox was truly going down this road, why make Indiana Jones exclusive? Put it everywhere. It's a Disney title. You know, you just got Machine Games to make it. You would just put it everywhere. But instead, they're putting it into their ecosystem. And you're going to have people that are not in the ecosystem that go, wow, Indiana Jones look awesome. Maybe I should subscribe to Game Pass. I'll just play it on the PC or something, or I'll cloud stream it if I don't want to buy an Xbox. That's where they're going. I think people forget Phil Spencer said, I want to say this was 2020, that they're not necessarily competing with PlayStation anymore. They're competing with Amazon and Google. And that's with all these acquisitions and things that they're doing, especially the King acquisition going into the mobile side of it. I mean, they're expanding. This is why Satya Nadella, these couple interviews that he's done over the past few weeks, is super excited about the gaming division. They obviously see a huge revenue opportunity that's coming to them. But at the same time, they're not abandoning the ecosystem that they've already developed. They're just expanding it beyond what it currently is. And they're being strategic about, all right, what games can we put on the competitor's platform versus the ones that we keep, which are going to get people to come to into our ecosystem and invest in it and potentially subscribe to Game Pass or whatever the case may be. That's how I see it personally. Now, I could be wrong. 6 months from now, I might be wrong, and they go, oh, I guess I was wrong. Get rid of your Xbox because they're going third party. But I do not think they're going third party. I just don't.
So that whole time, I was trying to bring up some statistics to sort of back up what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And I have like a billion tabs open here. But basically, the PlayStation 2 console sales were 158.7 million. This is according to Statista, something like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think we've sort of flatlined in terms of how much they can sell in terms of consoles. I'm trying to crop off my tabs here. Apologies for the live production. Makes for great live broadcast. So real quick and dirty here. PlayStation 2, 158 million. Nintendo DS, 154.2. 131. Nintendo Switch. Game Boy is 118. I had Michael Pachter on recently, who projected that they would sell, what did he say, 150 million PlayStation 5s. Look at where the PlayStation 2 capped out, 158.7 million units. Even the Nintendo Switch hasn't beat what the PS2 did. So people talk about like, oh, console growth is crazy. No, it's been flatlined since the PlayStation 2. As a matter of fact, like the Nintendo DS was the closest thing to ever almost catch up to the PlayStation 2. And I want people to realize that as much as we all love our consoles, and I don't think consoles are going to go away completely ever, but there is something to say about these statistics and how it shows a pattern. people aren't buying consoles as much because you can get your games on your PC, on your phone. I think we're going to see mobile explode in the next 5 to 10 years. iPhone can run Resident Evil 4. Everybody, they're like, oh, it overheats and it doesn't have a great frame rate. Now,
right,
like the first,
exactly 5 years from now, where we're going to be. Yeah,
this is the first generation iPhone that did it. They're going to fix that or address that with the next update, and then the next one's going to get better. And pretty soon, we're going to be playing something that looks comparable to a modern console on our phones, and you can just plug that into an HDMI, or they'll get cloud gaming actually working really, really well with xCloud. That's plugged into all of our Samsung televisions. So I hear everybody on the one hand about wanting their console. I don't think the consoles are going anywhere. I do think they're all going to go digital in the future because physical media sales have been in the toilet for so long. Granted, it's still millions of dollars, but at some point you have to wonder about the loss to distribute that physical media. Are they recouping enough revenue from that whole process? And I kind of hear where you're at on the whole thing. No, I don't think they're going to go third party. It's an ecosystem play. They want people playing Xbox games. Satya Nadella said as much. He said, I wish we didn't have console exclusives. Of course he doesn't want them, because that would be great for Xbox. Imagine you could just play all the games on your Xbox app, right? That'd be pretty awesome for them. It might stink for Sony, though, you know?
But if I could jump in on that, 2 points. This is why I also think I agree. I think if in a perfect world, Microsoft probably would be third party. But at the same time, I don't think they want to, for the console market, they don't want to rely on Sony or Nintendo to deliver the hardware. They still want to have a hand on that wheel of what console hardware can be and what it should do, so that they can get the best out of their games, for the console market. But clearly the money, like you said, the big revenue and the money is on the mobile side. That's where it is. It's like you've already said, the console market for all intents and purposes is around about 200 million. And that just doesn't seem to change. It just seems to be consistent with that. But we already know there's probably 1 billion people that actually play games out there in the world because they're playing on mobile. That's what Microsoft wants. That's what they're trying to get. And they're trying to reach those people. And like you said, with the cloud streaming, they're trying to make things as convenient as possible. They want my wife to be able to just pick up this controller, hit a button, and she's playing a game and not having to put in a disc and figure all this stuff. They just want people to play the games and to subscribe in, to whatever service that they have at the time, even though we obviously see subscriptions on console has stagnated as well. So where are you going to get more people to subscribe to the service? It's going to be on PC and on the mobile side. I think steering this over to PlayStation, I think they're, because I've been saying this for a few years and people get mad at me when I say this. I go, eventually PlayStation is going to put their games day and date on PC. It will eventually happen because you're leaving money on the table if you don't. There are people that simply will not buy a PlayStation. They will not buy a console, but they're more than willing to play the next God of War or Uncharted or whatever the case may be if you put it on PC. And you notice it's starting to get quicker and quicker that we're seeing some of their first-party PlayStation 5 titles come to PC. Eventually, it's going to be day and date, in my opinion, because it's about money. It's about making money. It's about making profit. You can't, because the argument has been, well, you're taking away from PlayStation 5 sales. You can't do that day and date. And just like you're showing now, that number's pretty static on what it's going to be. I don't think because I could play the next God of War on PC the same time I could play it on console, that if I was already picking up a PlayStation, now I'm just going to not get a PlayStation. I'm going to go build a $3,000 PC. I don't think it works that way. Again, I think it's two separate markets when it comes to that. And PlayStation slowly but surely is starting to dip into that. I think we're going to see what's the word I'm looking for? Like a PlayStation app, so to speak. So they don't necessarily have to rely on Steam to deliver the games. You get all your trophies and all of that. Things that Microsoft, Xbox has already been doing over the past few years. I think slowly but surely we're going to see PlayStation catch up to that as well. I know there's people watching that will highly disagree with what I'm saying, but things just seem to be trending that way in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't get in on the Samsung thing yet. Maybe it's because their streaming infrastructure utilizes technology that's owned by other people. I think Xbox might actually license some of their streaming technology to PlayStation. Or
I know they use the Azure. I know they use Azure. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's why they haven't like gone all in on it yet, or maybe there's some contractual thing where Xbox says you can only have one Azure service on here at a time for Samsung, but also it's 1% of the market. PlayStation's play was games as a service, which has not panned out super well for them,
and they're pivoting quickly off of that original vision. So that's what I'm saying. It's the market. The gaming industry is telling us, we're telling them what we're willing to do. You and I are both big into Destiny. I don't play Destiny a lot anymore. I don't think you do either. It had its run. It's very hard to do these type of games over a long period of time. It's crazy that it's even getting to that 10-year mark now. Fortnite just seems to be the exception to the rule. The Division is another one that I loved a lot, but I mean, it's, again, another roller coaster up and down of how many people have played and how many people put it down. So I don't think games as a service is the play. I don't think that's going to be the way that this industry grows, because it's hard. It is hard to constantly be putting out content because we eat it up so quickly, and then you got to invest in a battle pass and this and that. So it's tough.
And just a note on that, I think people are really fatigued by the battle pass systems. They're really fatigued by having to live in the games that they play. They're like, I want to play other stuff, which is part of the reason why I was a little surprised about the criticism about Hellblade 2 being a shorter experience, shorter being, 8 hours. I'm all for that personally. In terms of like digital only, I'm a little concerned about, but an 8-hour experience, like handcrafted, to the point where some of those shots look insanely, I say near photorealistic in some of the frames that we've seen from Hellblade 2. It's truly amazing. If that's what we get in an 8-hour experience, but it's like freaking awesome, and it's like exactly what the artist intended, I'm all for it. And I think we're going to see more of that from Sony. We're not going to see 300-hour games. They're gonna pivot hard, like you said, and go back to what they do exceptionally well. Games like The Last of Us 2 or the original Last of Us. Those games weren't that long, I think 40 hours is kind of like the cap of where you want your games to be on the long end, and then 8 hours for a really bespoke, linear, excellent narrative experience. I think that's also fine, and Microsoft is addressing that with the price point. So I don't know, I'm all for shorter games that are like really, really stellar experience, because what's happening, Parris, is these major companies are trying to figure out ways to string along your game time as long as frickin' possible. Destiny every week has you do a 20-minute frickin' mission just so you can get the next story beat, and it's exhausting. Not physically or anything like that. It's just we're tired of that crap, as gamers, and I think gamers have sort of woken up to the game that's being played here, right? Retention equals profit. Because eventually a percentage of those people will become buyers. And I'm all for Hellblade 2 being shorter if it means none of that.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that, because I played the first one and I enjoyed it, and it was around that time. I wasn't going, man, this should have been longer. Yeah, right. If that one is the same, like I even think, like it's funny, a lot of my favorite games in 2023 were indie titles. Like I think of something like Cocoon or Planet of Lana, or I played like a game like Ravenlock. These were not long experiences, but they resonated with me, and they wound up being so much fun that, those were some of the best experiences I had, versus, like, I'll just take Starfield as an example. I don't know, probably 150 plus hours into that game. And sure, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great game, but I don't need a 150-hour experience to enjoy a game. And like your Destiny analogy, that carrot on the stick where, sure, they were dragging out a lot of stuff just to keep you engaged. Like there was a time, probably from Taken King until about Forsaken, whatever time period that was, that's all I played.
Yeah.
Because it felt like it started feeling like a job. I mean, I'm looking back on it now and saying this, I was enjoying myself. But when you look back and think about it, it was like, there's so many games that I missed out on playing because got to play Destiny, got to do the raid this week, got to go, got to all these things because that was the loop that they had you invested in. So I'm all for giving us shorter experiences. Hi-Fi Rush, again, as an example, was not a long experience, and I loved it. So, you give us more of those.
Let's look at a few of these games that they've made. Hellblade, 7.5 hours on average to 9.5. They also made Heavenly Sword. That clocks in at 7 hours, 14 if you 100% it, 9 hours for Enslaved Odyssey to the West. So this studio is known for making these games that are sort of in this sweet spot in terms of length for what they are able to create. And if you haven't played Enslaved, go freaking play Enslaved Odyssey of the West. If you haven't played the original Hellblade, go play the original Hellblade. These games are phenomenal. So any criticism about the length of Hellblade 2 going into it, I'm like, come on, look at their pedigree. Like, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. This is one studio that has more than earned it several times over, right? I had a few more questions for you. I don't want to take up all of your time. I know we got, lives to get back to. Do you feel like the game industry, you've been doing this since what? You said 2006? I think I started around the same time. How has our side of it changed?
Ooh, boy.
A lot.
It's changed a lot. Yeah, it's changed a lot. I'm actually concerned in the more recent times where things have gone. And I'm going to leave the media out of this and talk more on the quote unquote creator side, because that's where I live. Obviously, I'm not in the media. I see a lot of sensationalism. Yeah, I think that's the best word to put it, where, it's more about, let's say, the most outrageous thing or have the most outrageous title to get you to engage with my content versus actually just presenting the content for what it is. I mean, again, let's just go back to what we're talking about with this whole Xbox third party stuff. The amount of YouTube videos I've seen and just, I personally consider fake outrage over some of these things, is because it drives engagement. The more negative you are about things, the more people pay attention to what you have to say, versus, you just presenting things for what you think they should be in a more positive outlook. So I'm concerned about that, because it's so funny. I get a lot of flack online. Like, I guess there's the meme now, I'm the kumbaya guy, right? Because I try to look things at the positive aspect of things. I mean, if something needs to be critiqued, of course I'm going to critique it, but I want to see the good in things before I see the bad. And I catch a lot of flack on that because people literally want me to be negative. They want me to be outraged about things when I don't necessarily think I need to be. I try to be logical about a lot of the things that I talk about. And that's just aspect of where we're going right now on this creator side. Like, I saw something about Starfield is going to PlayStation 5, and there was this whole back and forth on social media about it. And it was just like, what are we doing? But it creates engagement because that's all people were talking about, instead of talking about, hey, this Xbox Developer Direct's about to happen. I'm really excited to see these games. We're talking about things that there's a 99% chance is not going to happen, but let's argue about it anyway. So that's where I'm at on the creator side. I guess I will touch lightly on the media side. I don't like that. I feel like there's a distrust with the media, and we obviously know, and I'm not trying to bring politics into this and all that, but we know where a lot of that stuff is coming from. And that's unfortunate because, like, even one of your colleagues, like Rebecca, she's amazing. I love her work.
Rebecca and Kat are really great.
Yeah. And I don't think that gets the respect or the shine that it should, because she does a great job as a journalist. And again, I just think it's a aspect of where we are right now with this whole social media age, and negativity drives engagement versus just reporting on the news and talking about things for what they are. Positivity does not sell, and that's just unfortunate.
Go look. There's a video called "This Video Will Make You Angry," and it's a psychological look at how anger spreads versus any other emotion. I highly encourage. This is from CGP Grey. It's 8 years old and it stands true today. If you want attention, and he does it in a really fun way, as you can see if you're watching the video. If you want attention, be negative, be hostile, and it will spread like wildfire. Now, I have had my share of videos where I have been angry, and I try and be genuine when I'm upset about stuff. None of that's manufactured, but I do see it a lot of times where people are posting things to purposefully try and make you angry. There was the topic about the GTA 5 release trailer, I think is a really, really good example of this, because what happened was there was one person who posted something really dumb about Lucia and not liking that it was a female protagonist. And everybody roasted that person. But the narrative became that everybody hates Lucia. That wasn't true. That wasn't what happened. But that is the narrative that started catching. And I just called it out. I'm like, hey, maybe some people are mad about this, but for the most part, in this particular instance, that's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people making fun of that poster and making fun of anybody who doesn't like this protagonist because she's awesome, right? So just be careful when you're engaging with that sort of stuff. Go look at the source material is what I always tell people, and come to your own determination. Like even with my videos, and you know, a lot of people come to their own conclusions when they read all the context, and I like to do that myself also. Like if I see a thing that's sort of catching on, I'll go read everything for myself and then come to my own determination, and then, you know, have my own personal take out there. And that is the healthiest way that you can engage with this stuff. And the GTA 6 thing is definitely one where there are cases where it's genuinely like not good, where people are, you know, spreading anger and cycling that sort of mentality, which is really unfortunate. But it's also the thing that as human beings, we are like programmed to interact with more.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's unfortunate.
Last question for you. What are you most excited to play this year after the Xbox Developer Direct? Not from the Direct, just any game. Because, like, you know, we saw Indie today, we saw Hellblade. PlayStation has, you know, Last of Us Part 2 remastered. I hear one's a banger. Helldivers 2. The remaster is a little contentious right now because basically God of War Valhalla just had this fantastic free expansion, and then Last of Us tries to do the same thing, but it's $10. So, yeah. Final Fantasy Rebirth, Rise of the Ronin looks really cool. Those are just some that I've seen. But Parris, what are you personally excited to play this year?
Can I say a game that has not officially been announced, but we know it's going to happen this year?
Oh, what is it?
That 3D Mario on the new Switch. That'll probably be that'll be my most anticipated. I mean, obviously, if the rumors and speculation is true, but of things that have been announced, that's a tough one, because I even go back to like last year's Xbox presentation, and are some of those things going to, like, is Clockwork Revolution going to be in 2024?
Yeah, probably
not. So, I mean, that was something I was highly anticipating. One that wasn't in this Developer Direct that I have a sneaking suspicion will be this year is South of Midnight. I'm looking forward to that. But I will say...
What is that game, Parris? Like, I want to be excited for it.
We don't necessarily know exactly what it is, other than that it's happening down in the South. It looks like Louisiana, I believe.
Sounds right.
And I just love that it's embracing that culture. You know, that African-American Southern culture. And it's coming from Compulsion. So I'm very intrigued by it. Yeah. So really looking forward to it. But I will say the game, and they haven't put a date on it, but I'm pretty sure it's still 2024. For me, it's Replaced.
Ooh.
Yeah. I've had my eyes on that game since about 2021, and obviously everything that's been happening in the Ukraine with the war got it delayed. But that's Sad Cat Studios that's making it, and I just love that art style that they're doing. That 2D side scroller, it's kind of cyberpunk-ish looking game. It looks really, really cool. So I'd probably say that'd be my most anticipated right now.
I'm not even joking. I think mine is, and I'm not kidding, Indiana Jones.
It could, yeah. I mean, yeah. I was trying to stay away from the hype of what we just saw, but yeah, it looks really, really good. It really does.
If I had to do a B pick, just looking at the PlayStation list, the one that's confirmed, Rise of the Ronin in March, that's looking pretty solid. What are there any? I mean, Hellblade 2 is on my list. There's a lot already in 2024. Enshrouded, which was like a big Steam Next Fest game I'm really excited for. Yeah, man. Really, really excited. What do you think is going to be the big game this year out of what we know?
Whew. That's a good one.
I think it's indie.
See, it's like I don't want to say indie because I'm like, oh, you're just falling into the hype of what we saw, but of what we know, right now, that is probably the most impressive game that I've seen so far of what we know. I'm sure there's going to be something that comes along. I think a lot of people might say Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as well. I'm personally, and the reason I'm not going to say that one is I'm just not a Final Fantasy guy. That's just not my thing. But I think people watching this, that's probably what they would say of what we know right now. I just think that 3D Mario is going to destroy everything when it's finally shown. We're like, oh my God, I can't wait to play that. But it's not official yet, so we'll have to wait and see.
I'm trying to look and see if I forgot anything. And while I do that, Parris, real quick, where can people watch you? What do you want to plug?
Okay, I will plug that you can find me over at Kinda Funny. I'm a co-host on the Xcast over there. You can also find me on Gamertag Radio. And if you want to see me on social media, it's at Vicious696, pretty much everywhere.
Forgot Dragon's Dogma 2. That's third party. I think that one's going to be pretty big.
Yeah.
Parris, thank you so much for joining me. It's been
of course,
really good catching up with you.
Yeah, it's always good. It's so funny, like you said, it's been a while, but like we'll be at like some random event and then I'll say like, hey, but yeah, it's always good to see you.
I'm always like at events, it's always so weird for me because I got my producer Destin work brain on and I'm really socially awkward when I'm like that. So I always try and be friendly, like, hi, yeah, how's it going? I got to go do a bunch of work. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I don't get a lot of chill time when I'm in the field. But it is always great seeing you. I remember one year, sorry to go off a little aside, I saw you sitting at Gamescom. Yes, I didn't know you were going there. I was like, Parris? 2019. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I remember that. You real quick before we go, that was such a surreal experience for me because, it was like last minute that I got to go.
Yeah.
2019, Gamescom, had never been to anything like that. And I'm literally doing it alone. So it was so funny, like seeing someone like yourself there, seeing a familiar face was really good. But turned out to be just one of the best events I've ever attended.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go again.
It's pretty fun. Thank you, Parris. Thank you to everybody watching, and thank you to the members. If you want to support this channel, you can become a member by clicking that join button at the bottom of the screen. We're going to get out of here. Be sure to check out Parris's stuff. Check out my stuff. I'm using a new program for these interviews, so hopefully this isn't a disaster. I'm going to get out of here, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.